A toddler falls into a gorilla habitat, and panic erupts. But instead of attacking, the grieving silverback does something that leaves everyone in shock, revealing the depths of animal emotion and maternal instinct. The gorilla habitat was always a favorite among visitors, but today something felt different. Zara, the silverback who usually stole the show with her playful antics, sat motionless at the far end of the enclosure. She chewed absently on a branch, her deep-set eyes distant, lost somewhere far from the curious faces peering in. She didn't swing, she didn't climb, she didn't even glance at the children calling her name with squeals of delight. Something was wrong. Outside, families milled around, unaware. Laughter floated through the air. Parents lifted their children onto their shoulders for a better view. Among them was Liam's mother, doing her best to focus on the animals while wrangling her energetic toddler. "Liam, don't climb that," she warned. But toddlers don't always listen. Liam's tiny hands gripped the railing as he leaned forward, wide-eyed with wonder. He peered into the enclosure, captivated by the silent giant at the far end. In his young mind, curiosity outweighed caution. He leaned farther, then a blur, a gasp, a thud. He was gone. "Liam!" His mother's scream cut through the chatter like a blade. Heads whipped around. Gasps rose from the crowd. Then came a second, heavier thud. Dull, sickening. "Oh God! Liam!" she shrieked, spotting her child sprawled face down at the bottom of the enclosure. From that height, 20 feet, he should have been badly hurt. But he wasn't crying. He wasn't moving. "My baby!" she wailed, her voice shaking as she frantically flagged down a zookeeper. They rushed over at once, peering into the habitat. "We'll get him out, ma'am," one of them assured her. She nodded, barely hearing, clinging to her necklace like it might anchor her to reality. A few nearby onlookers silently judged her. Why wasn't she watching him more closely? But none of them said it aloud. Liam's mother couldn't stand still. She scanned the enclosure, searching for any way in. Her panicked eyes found movement and froze. Zara had heard the thud. Her head turned sharply. The branch dropped from her mouth. Then she moved. The ground trembled beneath her weight. "Somebody stop her! Stop her!" The mother cried out, voice ragged with fear. One of the zookeepers, keys and sticks in hand, broke into a sprint toward the emergency supply room, calling for a tranquilizer. But it might already be too late. Liam's mother reached out helplessly, hands shaking, as if she could pluck him out of danger by will alone. The crowd collectively held its breath. Zara did not stop. Some turned away. Others clutched their children tighter. A few women wept quietly. What was about to happen? Before the keepers could return, Zara reached the boy. Her massive frame eclipsed him completely, casting a shadow that swallowed the child whole. The crowd braced for horror, but it didn't come. Zara didn't snarl. She didn't bare her teeth. She didn't raise a fist. Instead, her huge, leathery hand reached out and gently curled around the tiny, fragile body on the ground. She lifted Liam. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Jaws dropped. Even those who had looked away slowly turned back, unable to believe what they were seeing. Liam's mother whimpered. Her child, cradled in the hands of a wild animal, looked impossibly small. He blinked. His lips trembled. It looked like he might cry. And then Zara pulled him close. She pressed him gently to her chest, rocked him. A low, rumbling sound rose from her throat. Not a growl, not a warning, a lullaby. Then, impossibly, she leaned down and pressed her broad lips to the boy's forehead. "Okish." Liam's mother nearly collapsed. "Oh God, please," she whispered. By now, the zookeepers had returned with radios and tranquilizer rifles. But none of them moved. They had trained for aggression, not this. One keeper stepped forward, eyes locked on the scene. "She's comforting him," he murmured. "But why?" the mother asked, voice cracking. An older zookeeper, Mitchell, answered without hesitation. "Zara's baby died." He knew. He'd worked with Zara for years. He'd seen her protect the young, discipline the rowdy, lead with quiet strength. And he had seen her mourn. Just a month ago, Zara's infant had succumbed to illness. She had carried his lifeless body for days, refusing to let go. When the staff finally took it away, she lashed out. Since then, she had barely moved, barely eaten. She only searched for something that would never return. Until now, a hush fell over the crowd, heavier than before. They weren't watching a rescue, they were watching a tragedy. But the fear returned, because now Zara wouldn't let go. For a fleeting moment, there was hope. Zara turned toward the iron fence, and for a breathless second, the crowd dared to believe she was going to return the child. But then she turned again. Instead of moving closer, she circled back. Whispers rippled through the crowd as anxiety crept back in. The zookeepers stood poised, urged silently and allowed to intervene. But they knew better. Any sudden movement, any miscalculation could shift everything. To startle her would be to invite disaster, because nothing was more dangerous than a mother protecting her young, whether human or not. Then, from within the cradle of Zara's arms, came a sound. Small, clear. "Mama!" Liam's voice broke through the air, and with it, the dam inside his mother burst. She collapsed into sobs, her cries echoing against the stone and steel. Moved by the moment, a zookeeper made a critical mistake. He stepped forward. He did it slowly, carefully, but even that was too much. Sorry for the interruption, but before we continue with the story, I kindly ask you to like the video and subscribe to this channel. It is very important for us. Thank you very much. The calm shattered. Zara's head snapped around. Her lips curled back, revealing gleaming canines. Then, with terrifying speed, she bolted away from the gate and toward the rocky edge of the enclosure. A collective gasp surged through the crowd. Mitchell's stomach twisted. "No," he whispered. "Not up. Anything but up." But up she went. With a powerful thrust, Zara scaled the first ledge, child in arms. "She's taking him," someone cried. Liam's mother shrieked, a sound so raw it silenced the crowd. "No. Please, stop. Don't take my baby." But there was no stopping Zara. She climbed higher, moving swiftly, deftly, the child still cradled tightly to her chest. "Zara!" a keeper called, desperate. "No!" another shouted, but she didn't slow. Every inch she climbed pushed the panic higher. One slip, one wrong grip, that was all it would take. Mitchell's radio crackled. "We have a clear shot. Take her down." His hand hovered over the button. Zara turned mid-climb and their eyes met. She was pleading. Mitchell's jaw tightened. If they shot her now, she'd drop the child. There was no question. He clenched the radio. "Hold your fire." "I said hold." Zara pulled herself onto the second ledge 20 feet above the ground. She was near the top now. Mitchell turned to the others. "Options. Now, we could lure her back down," someone offered. Mitchell latched onto the idea. He reached into his pocket, feeling for something small, soft, and worn. His fingers closed around it. "Open the side gate," he ordered. Keys clinked. A gate groaned open. The crowd stirred, voices rising in anxious waves. "He's going in. Is he crazy? He's going to get himself killed." But Liam's mother didn't protest. She looked at Mitchell with something fragile in her expression. "Hope. Please," she whispered. "Please bring him back." Mitchell gave a solemn nod. Then he stepped into the enclosure. The gate clanged shut behind him.
No hesitación.
He moved with purpose across the rocky terrain, straight toward the base of Zara's climb. "Zara!" he shouted. She didn't turn. She only climbed higher. Liam's small legs dangled from her arms. Mitchell took another step and pulled out the object from his pocket. A faded blue blanket, worn at the edges, folded with care. Zara's blanket, the one she had wrapped around her baby, the one she had refused to give up, even long after his tiny heartbeat had faded. Mitchell held it out. "It's yours, sweetheart," he called gently. Zara paused. She looked down. Her gaze landed on the blanket. Her eyes shifted. Something deep in them flickered. Recognition, memory, pain. Mitchell saw it all at once. The longing, the ache, the confusion. She looked at the boy in her arms, then at the blanket. The world fell silent. suspended in that impossible moment of choice. Then Zara exhaled, a low, rumbling grunt. Her foot pressed against the stone. She shifted her weight, tested it, and stepped down. Mitchell's lungs finally filled with air again. Relief flooded his chest like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. She was coming down. The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't dare. Every eye was fixed on her. Every breath held. Parents clung to their children like lifelines. Zookeepers stood frozen, terrified of disrupting the fragile miracle unfolding before them. Liam's mother pressed against the railing, white-knuckled. Her lips moved in a rapid rhythm, words only she could hear. Maybe prayers, maybe her son's name, but Zara kept moving, deliberate, slow, downward, toward Mitchell, toward safety, toward letting go. Zara continued her descent, slow, deliberate, every muscle taut with caution. Mitchell stood firm below, voice calm and low. "That's a good girl, Zara. That's right, you're doing great." Her massive hands clung to the rock. Her foot found its hold, and slowly, carefully, she lowered herself down. 20 feet, 15, 10. Mitchell counted every step in his mind, each one a victory. The air was heavy with silence, thick with tension. Then finally Zara's feet touched solid ground. A collective exhale swept through the crowd. But no one cheered. Not yet. The danger had passed. But the moment was still too fragile. What would she do now? Mitchell moved forward, one slow step at a time. A zookeeper gently tossed him an orange, Zara's favorite. He caught it, held it out. Zara's nostrils flared. Her arms tightened protectively around the child. Then, she stepped closer. She reached out and took the orange. That was all Mitchell needed. In one swift, practiced motion, he lunged and pulled the boy from her grasp. A scream tore through the crowd. It was the mother, crying out in disbelief and joy. And then the dam broke. Cheers, shouts, sobs. She ran, collapsing at the locked gate, desperate to hold her son. Mitchell sprinted toward her, Liam cradled in his arms. The boy had begun to cry now, startled by the rush, but alive and safe. The gate opened. His mother dropped to her knees, arms wide, tears pouring down her cheeks. "My baby," she wept, pulling him in, pressing kisses all over his tiny face. "Oh my God, my baby. Thank you. Thank you." Mitchell handed him over and stepped back, breathing hard, still reeling. Liam was safe. Inside the enclosure, Zara didn't move. She stood silently, still holding the orange and the faded blue blanket. Her eyes, dark, wet, and empty, were locked on the child in his mother's arms, then on Mitchell, and then back again. She had lost a child. Again, Mitchell felt the weight of it all settle on his chest. He had known from the beginning, this wasn't rage. It wasn't instinct or confusion. It was grief. Zara had been searching for what she lost, trying to hold on to something, anything, that reminded her of the love she once had. Now she stood with nothing. She turned away, not with anger, not with resentment, just sorrow, and disappeared into the shadows. Outside the zoo, the world reacted. Within hours, footage from the crowd went viral. News stations replayed the dramatic rescue. Social media exploded. Debates sparked. Could gorillas really be that intelligent? Did they truly feel emotions as deeply as humans? Some called for stricter safety measures. Others demanded that Zara be moved to a sanctuary. But many, those who watched closely, who listened, understood. They saw what Mitchell and the other keepers had seen. A mother in mourning. Reporters swarmed the zoo. Interview requests poured in. Mitchell turned most of them down, but he released a single powerful statement. Zara was not attacking. She was mourning. That one sentence echoed across platforms. People shared their own stories of loss, of grief, of animals they had loved and lost. Letters came in. Donations flooded the zoo. Many didn't send money. They sent compassion. They sent hope. And then came the question, what can we do for Zara? The zoo board met. They weighed every option. And in the end, they made a choice, not out of obligation, but out of love. They found her a baby, orphaned, fragile, afraid, much like Zara herself. When the crate door opened, the small gorilla stepped cautiously into the enclosure. Zara didn't hesitate. She moved toward the infant. He made a small, uncertain noise. She reached out and hugged him. The staff exhaled. Some in the crowd wiped away tears. Mitchell stood silently, watching. Zara was a mother once more. Her story reminds us that grief transcends species, that the ache of loss and the instinct to protect are not just human experiences. They are universal. They are what make us, all of us, alive. Did this story move you? Do you believe animals can feel grief and love as deeply as we do? Let us know in the comments. And if this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe. Your support helps us share more stories like Zara's. Stories that show us the humanity in the wild and the wildness in our hearts. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay kind and take care.